So we're here to talk today about the Say Yes Way campaign results.
Cool. Okay, so I think it helps to bring us back to the beginning and talk about the origin story of Yes Way Rosé. So at its core, it is a lifestyle brand. Co-founders Erica and Nikki were living in New York at the time, fell in love with French rosé, but didn't have anything on the market that they connected with. So they decided to start an Instagram account all about the Yes Way aesthetic and for the rosé aesthetic for rosé lovers, while at the same time they were becoming experts in wine. So fast forward a few years, they eventually launched an actual liquid, so the brand that we've come to know and love as Yes Way Rosé. So with everything we do, it's really our goal to create this modern wine brand that the modern woman can connect with. And so that was kind of the impetus of this campaign and this program. And we really targeted our two consumers. We call them Sydney and Lauren. We know them to a T. We've defined who they are, how they work, what they think, where they go, which Michelle will talk a little bit more about here, but we love them and we really want to connect with them. So we thought, what better way than to do it during prime rosé season, which we'll discuss a little bit more, and then Michelle's going to talk about kind of our success metrics.
So one of the things that Sarah alluded to was really understanding the customer and who she is and who that prospect is. So we did a whole day in the life. We took the initial results that they had regarding the audience and those details, and we put them into MRI. We did Mintel research. We did a variety of things to understand the industry and where she moved and what she did. And so we created this strategy around these circles, who she was seeing, what she was doing, where she was going, and how she was intercepting media. So we plotted out an entire day of the life. So we started in the morning when she's scrolling her socials, moved her along throughout the day as she's planning her shopping trip. We also observed that she was going to malls and shopping online. She isn't only an online shopper. She's taking the train to get to her job. She's moving around the marketplace. She's seeing her friends. She's doing all of these things. And she's closing out her day, potentially having gone to an event at an entertainment venue or even watching Hulu at night before she goes to sleep. So we could really understand the media and the impact of media overall. We took that and then translated that into our channels that we were selecting overall. And we had this formula regarding the audience segmentation and how we understood the audience. So we needed media partners that could use the data on the back end. We also needed to look at those shopping behaviors and those shopping patterns. So that's something that Dan was alluding to earlier with in-market. So we used preceptivity audiences to really understand what she was doing before that shopping trip. How could we intercept her so that when she went to the store, she'd actually make that decision to pick up the product? And then it was really critical that we use the right channels. We had no waste, really, essentially, with this campaign as to how we were going to reach her and how we were getting into market. We wanted to maximize those dollars as much as possible. And we also plotted all the store locations and the markets. So we looked at our primary markets, secondary markets, and we looked at a 3-mile radius of those stores, what the population density was, so that we could understand how much we really needed to reach them in advance. And then critical to this is the creative message. So we could have the best media in the world, but if we don't have the right creative message to marry with that, it isn't going to resonate with our audience. Here you'll see a little bit more of the campaign. On the bottom, you'll see the red line in Chicago, which many of you might be familiar with on the L. We did the OLV, so online video to reach her. We did display for efficiency. And then we also did moments. So when we looked at the digital out-of-home campaign, it was really important to pick those venues that resonated. We also have LDA rules. So we have liquor laws that we have to comply with. We have age restrictions. So there's a lot of things we really need to understand about a regulated industry. So we went to entertainment venues. We went to hair salons. We went to the malls. We went to the places that we knew she was frequenting. And then those moments would push out. So essentially, she'd be exposed to the out-of-home campaign. And then, as Dan was talking about waking up your phone, as she moved a specific distance away and time period away, we sent her that frequency message via a push notification. She would open up that app, and then she would see the Moments message itself. And we had extraordinary interaction on the Moments campaign. This was really nice to see because you can just click right out. You don't have to interact. You don't have to go to the website. And yet we saw that terrific interaction with Sydney and with Lauren. Oh, can we get sound?
Okay, so you just saw our hero spot. Our campaign is Say Yes Way, and it was really rooted in this insight of Sydney and Lauren and her everyday life and what she's doing, and really turning like the mundane into magical with 2 words, Yes Way, which is very fitting for our brand, obviously. So we had the hero spot. We really focused on relevant, topical messaging that resonated with her, that highlighted moments she could say yes way to, but also really were true to our brand. And so you saw a kind of 3 different vignettes there. So the Summer Friday, Self-Care Sundays, Girls Dinner, Dinner with the Girls. We broke that up into 3 miniature spots, so 3 15 seconds that we also had running at the same time. The greatest news is that all 3 of them did phenomenal. There was no clear winner, which made our jobs a little bit harder, but was really great to see. It was just really fun, upbeat. It really captured the essence and ethos of the brand, but was so on target too. It just really spoke to Sydney and Lauren and everything that she's about. So that was kind of the main campaign hero you just saw. We had different variations of it in static and video form that were running throughout the campaign. So you just saw the train wrap, which was awesome. It ran way longer than we thought it would, which was amazing for us. But really, the reason we did that is because we wanted to bring the Say Yes Way mentality in real life, and we knew that there was no better way to do it than in a top city for us, but that had major accounts and retailers within just a few miles of the major train stops. And so we could capture her attention on the train, and then when drive her really close to the store and really create an experience there. So it was this really impactful kind of all these elements that came together, because also Sydney and Lauren are out and about in the city, as Michelle said. Like, they are taking the train, they are walking, they are running, they are doing everything, and they're super engaged in the community. And so this was a really great test for us. Oh, and then even more so, as I mentioned, like, there were stores. We were very, very specific about where we advertised, so that way there were stores nearby that they could go to. We don't really sell a lot online, as you can, laws and all those things. So we worked really closely with our retailers and our accounts to have case stacks, mass displays, front and center, so that way once they saw it on their phone and they saw it on the train and they went into a store, it was this really seamless shopping experience, and just really drove home that brand recognition.
From the campaign, we saw over 250,000 store visits within 2 months, which we thought was phenomenal overall, at $1.50 per incremental visit. So we drove 47% incremental traffic using this strategy. Chicago was a test market for us overall, because we wanted to see what that layer of physical media in a market would also do to those results. You can see Binny's on here. That is a store in Chicago, doubled their sales during that time period. They were doing 500 case orders, which was very atypical prior to the campaign. We saw extra displays, which also increased our case sales by 7%, and then we had 2% additional growth in distribution. So really fantastic numbers from both a sales perspective and also that refill and backfill of the actual product in store. Additional things that we saw were online store visits, or online website visits. So to measure people actually going to the site and taking that time to do that, in addition to being at that point of purchase and display in the store, was really terrific. We saw Chicago rise in rank from 6 to 3, which we felt was just really a fantastic accomplishment, especially given the markets that did rank within that top 10 to begin with. Jewel Osco sales increased 16%. As I mentioned, Binny's literally doubled their sales during that time period. Our OLV averaged a view-through rate of 98%, which is on par with CTV. That's really astronomical, and that really speaks to the insights of the campaign itself, understanding the audience and mirroring that right position of the message with the right audience and the right message structure overall. And then our CTR was a 260 index to expectation, and our rate of sales increased over 5%. We were really pleased with the results overall of the campaign.
The brand awareness that we drove, and just from a brand perspective, it was super successful. And our accounts, our commercial team, our retailers were all involved and invested, and they consider this a big win.
Yep.
We have time for questions.
I have a question. Are you serving samples?
Yes.
I see them up there. Don't
Come
tempt.
on up.
Okay.
We do.
We've
Come on
already
up.
cracked a can. So
Yep.
That
Take
was
it
going to
away.
be my question too,
Oh, go ahead.
but it's before
I need to
noon.
see your ID.
Right.
Thank you. So interesting. Adrian and I were just talking about this backstage. We love whenever we see people that take first-party data, better understand the journey of the consumer. We were literally just talking about oftentimes out of home is fit in like a silo, and it's an afterthought. So the fact that you guys went out and you built out your specific journey using your own data and threw away the concept of like, I have to buy these specific screens, but more led to like, we know who our consumer is. So how do you grow upon this? I love the media mix that you used with out-of-home CTV. Do you feel that utilizing out-of-home saw that increase in viewability that led to the store visitation, kind of the media working for each other?
It's definitely an integrated effort overall. When we look at the research and we think about the campaigns, we build a strategy for each of our clients uniquely and individually, because no two sets are the same. And even when we look at Sydney and Lauren, within their behaviors and their life stages, Sydney's a bit younger than Lauren. Lauren has sort of early children and early family. So we're looking at how they move, and that really identified this circle strategy overall. So we wanted to be in the circles where she was, whether they were social circles, whether they were in the community, whether they were where she was going to work and her work circles. Those were all really important to us. And so as we look at the evolution of the campaign overall, we're thinking about next year, and we're thinking about how do we push the strategy, how do we intercept her in additional ways next time. And that will lead to either maybe bigger market presence, it'll lead to other market presence, because we did find really core components that worked. So we don't want to walk from those. This was the first time around, and how do we evolve that to be even bigger and better for next year?
Distribution is key too to where we activate. We don't sell online. We're sort of D2C. It's kind of, it is what it is. But we have to make sure we have the distribution in that market too. Otherwise, it's such a poor experience for the consumer.
How important is marrying the out-of-home creative with the online creative, and especially the video creative?
Very important. Yeah, it's consistency, right? You need to build, especially we're a French rosé, we need to build credibility. And when consumers see a very consistent message, a consistent look, they know it's our brand. It just builds that trust and credibility. And also the campaign was really fun, and we wanted everybody to see it. And so, yeah, it's super important. We do tailor some of our channels a little bit. Organic is more fun and playful and very like social first. But it's, this video campaign still had a home and a place in all those other channels.
Where was there any optimization going on throughout this? Were there any course corrections?
I wouldn't necessarily say course correction per se, but we did really identify specific things that resonated more. So especially in the social space, when it comes to this brand started in social, and as an endemic social brand, when we looked at putting those video messages out via social, we didn't see the same kind of results that we did with more organic style posts, with boosting, with influencers, and with collabs. So the message works really fantastic in a brand space, and all of the brand messaging living where advertising would potentially be, whereas like social and peer and other sorts of cultural moments do much better in kind of that social ether, and if we're putting paid money behind that. So it was, that learning was a really key learning along the way. But to Sarah's point too, on the creative message, we were stunned that they all did as well as they did. There wasn't, let's peel this one back, let's put more money into this one. It was really a
It was a
very
match made in
positive.
heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, are you for the next campaign? Are you already anticipating any change to the media mix?
A little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, we can't talk too much about it. We have ideas and we have direction.
More out of
There is a
More
little bit
out of
more
home.
out of
Yeah,
home in
yeah.
there. Yep, there is.
Sarah,
Back there, Steve.
Whoa, I'm
Albert's got one.
Yeah.
Make it good.
It's going to be really good.
Oh, we'll
Well, first of all, thank you all for coming. I may have had a little something to do with them being here, maybe not. So Albert Thompson, Managing Director, Digital Innovation of Walton Isaacson. Your case study is very interesting for multiple facets. One being this: brands that are in alcohol, beverage, or just beverage tend to take distribution where it is and let revenue side where it is, because setting up distribution partnerships is hard. Getting into Costco's, Walmart's, grocery stores, like it's a state of the union for the people in the media who don't understand. Like it's a real thing. What I like about your case study is you actually, through working with Cake Shop and in market, let the in-market activation drive in-market opportunity. It's kind of like proving the business case. When you talk about Chicago Rose as a market, a lot of people in your category don't do that. What they do is they strike a distribution and retail media deal that kind of goes sideways, doesn't work, but they just accept it because they have to have physical store presence to make some money. Well, you all have like, okay, we can activate in a market and move market opportunity and make a market we maybe thought we couldn't compete now be a top consideration and dominate. And that is a very important business case other than just running media. So I was wondering if you could kind of take us into how that changes the thought process when you now look at a new market and say, we now have a strategy to show up in it, move it up the prioritization, which then changes distribution thinking in terms of we need these partners, not those partners now. And now it's an example where media can lead your rollout footprint versus your sellers just calling the next grocery store and saying, hey, can we get on the shelf and get some opportunity? I think that's probably the most powerful lesson in what you said, because I don't think the media world understands that when it's mapped that way, media can really move expansion footprint versus, well, we'll just wait till the brand tells us where they are and then we'll just turn some stuff on.
I'll let Michelle talk a little bit more about some of this stuff, but that's the reason why we worked with Cake Shop too, is that they had case studies similar to this where like we can drive the traffic in those markets and all those things. And so it really was a team effort. And I'm glad you understand the space, because like half of what we do is just to like satisfy commercial and sales and accounts. It's like, no, we're doing this for you. Now you give something to us. Let's do this together. And it really is, it can be a struggle, but it has to all work together. And so a lot of what we do, this case study in particular, is now to go to other markets and say, look what we're doing. We can replicate this here. Let's work together to make this happen.
Just to add to what Sarah's saying, we look at a lot of case studies for CPG. So we've done a lot of CPG work in the past and a lot of retail work at the end of the day. And in that, we can see what's an opportunity market. We can look at IRI data, and we can look at other types of data in those markets, and we can define, these are sitting at the top. Are they a protect? Are they a maintain? What's an opportunity in that? Where do we find where we could push that needle? And that's another reason why Chicago was such a great case for us. Chicago was sitting in kind of this opportunity space, and we're like, let's see what we can do there. We want to grow this. We want to move that up, and that just really turned out to be a great win for us. And so as we look to the future, it's what other big markets do we want to do that in? because that propels everything. Sales, revenue, distribution, they all go hand in hand at the end of the day. And it's much more of a marketing question than it is even purely a media question. It's about how do we think about the business and go beyond just, this is a media scenario, these are the tactics we're gonna run, these are the impressions in the market, these are the results there. It's taking it all the way through that actual sales experience itself at the end of the day.
And I'm sure, as you know, we can't actually measure sales. That's why you saw cases sold, because that's how we measure growth in our industry. So it's hard.
Well, let me tease out one of things that Albert mentioned, because it ties back to my discussion with Adrian yesterday about the role of RMNs in all of this. Are they getting in the way? Are they helping? Is it intruding on your budget? Are you using some of that RMN data to drive some of this?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Wait, can you elaborate a
The
little
retail
bit?
media networks that
Oh,
are
retail, okay.
associated
Oh,
with,
yes, yes.
with
No.
these retailers.
Got
Are they, is that data that you're using, does it need to be a part of the budget equation because you have to deal with these retailers? Is it getting in the way, or is it helping?
Well, we consider RMN all the time. So like Roundel, like Target is a great opportunity for us because say, we look at Sydney and Lauren and how many times she's frequenting Target in a week. And we look at Costco and we look at these other networks and things that exist out there. We considered shopping carts, we considered in-store media, we considered a lot of different things along the way, and yet what we wanted to do was that pre-shopping experience and that pre-behavior. How do we get in first versus being at point of sale? And let's let the cases and the end caps drive it. That's going to be our sort of billboard in the store, per se. And, it's not to say we wouldn't use, retail media in the future, or not consider that more heavily along the way. But in this particular mix that we created, it was much more about that day in the life.
Yeah. And I think to Megan's point too, we really had to drive awareness. Like that was the
Yeah.
goal for the year, was broader awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi there, Jeff Aldridge, PJX Media. We're seeing a lot of brand collaborations. We do a lot of work in the beauty space, and one of the brands that we work with is Summer Fridays. So I saw your weekly tagline, so I was like, man, that makes perfect sense. Have you considered any brand collaborations?
Yes, let's talk. Yeah, we do a few. We did we do smaller ones. We partnered with Beast, the blender, because we do a lot of rosé, so it's a perfect fit there. We've done a cotton candy that you put into your bubbles and it dissolves. We did a Yes Way branded and flavored cotton candy there. We've done several smaller ones. We've looked at bigger ones before. We've typically done giveaways of sorts, which is very, very common in this space. And a lot of our commercial team will come to us and say, accounts want these big giveaways. So we've talked about doing trips and things like that, and they work, but they don't drive home the brand. It's really like, here's your tickets, hop on a plane and never think about us again. So we are leaning more into the co-branded, co-marketing space. So yeah, we should chat. It's a perfect fit.
I keep seeing boxes of these show up at my house. So it's either one of two things. It's either really good, or you sell it at Trader Joe's, because it's my wife.
Two things can be true.
It could be both. It's probably both. Okay, well,
You
there
mean your
go.
wife is one of their profiles?
Yeah, totally.
Hillary is one of their
Yeah,
profiles?
yeah, she's one of my. Yeah, she's
Is
one
her
of
name
my-
Lauren?
Yeah. There you go. Yes.
Sarah and Michelle, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so
you.
much.